sourdough Sam.
No sour death, Sam.
Sour death Sam.
Sour death Sam.
Sour death Sam.
Disrespect to Sour Death Sam will not continue.
Season halftime show, the show where everything doesn't count and the points don't matter. Preseason is here and it's more frustrating than it's ever been. I'm that guy they call Sour Death Sam. I'm happy to be here. I got some amazing guests coming up that I'll be bringing on in 1 second. But first, let's take a deep breath. This is partly because it's like my second show ever. It's partly because the preseason game was kind of freaking whack. Awful, weird performance. But you know what? It's preseason. And we've got time. We got time, baby. Listen, the first thing I want to start with is it's important to consider everything in context. This is preseason. A lot of starters were not on the field. It's okay to let the backups grow into themselves. These are a lot of folks, some of whom are rookies, some of whom are veterans who are trying to hang on to their seats. And look, sometimes mistakes are going to happen. You're not going to get the best O-line performance. A lot of these things are not going to look as pretty as you would hope. But at the same time, it's important that we consider that this is on display for the American public. We do have eyes and we are invested in this team. Therefore, there will be opinions.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So,
yes, sir.
One last thing I want to talk about before we bring on our guests. And by the way, I'm happy to say one of our guests has been trending on Twitter all fucking day. So excited to talk to him about that. But we have Grant Cohn and Ryan Hensley coming on to the show. They're friends of the show. All right, so you fucking talk shit, I won't like that. But they're friends of the show. I'm happy to have them here. They have a show every Monday at 11 a.m., both of them together. They're probably sick of talking by now, but they were kind enough to be here with me, and I appreciate that. So before we hop in, one last thing I'll say is we call this the preseason halftime show because we're just about halfway through the preseason. We've gotten through OTAs, we've gotten through training camp, we've gotten through our first game. We've got 2 preseason games left, and for a lot of these rookies, a lot is on the line. For even some of these veterans, a lot is on the line. So it'll be a very exciting conversation to hop into with these guys. So without further ado, let's start bringing them in. Let's start with Ryan. It's good to have you.
Here, man.
All right. And then we got my man Grant. Yeah, you get applause too. And you get a yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. Damn, that was loud as fuck. All right, guys, what's going on? How you guys doing? Ryan, we'll start with you.
I'm good. If I was trending on Twitter, would I get a yes, sir, as well?
Oh, hell yeah, you would get a yes, sir.
All right.
It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, is my opinion.
Yeah.
And then the man himself, Grant, what's going on, man?
Chilling, man. Just got back from Vegas. Feel sick as hell. But
Oh, shit, are you okay?
Vegas, man. Yeah, man. It's, got like the flu or something. But
Oh, dude.
who cares? I'm here to talk football.
You gotta
because
stack some
that's what
fucking
matters.
days, brother.
Let's fucking talk football, man.
Let's stack some days, dude. Let's go. Stacking days. All right, enough applause. Let's get to business. All right, first things first. Speaking of getting back from Vegas, smoked in joint practices. We have a 49ers team that clearly felt a little outmatched. I mean, I wasn't there. Grant, you were. That's why I would, love to hear from you. I wanted to bring you on for this reason. You are boots on the ground for joint practices we couldn't be at. Tell me what you saw.
Well, it's like the first day, everything was quite far away, but we sort of like got a hint of what happened. And at the end, we were all like, did the Raiders just outplay the Niners in this practice? And everyone kind of agreed that they had, but that it didn't really matter because it's just a practice and it was just one day. And then they did it again the next day. It was like, did that just happen again? And you're thinking like, okay, Kyle Shanahan said he like actually values these practices, but it's just a fluky thing. And then it wasn't just the Raiders beat the Niners. Like it was an ass kicking. It was 34-7, and the only 7 points the Niners got was on a pass that should have been intercepted. Mm-hmm. Against the Raiders, who fucking suck, respectfully.
Right, and that's what I was about to say is that it felt like we were going to go into joint practices and it was going to just be easy money. I mean, the Raiders' defense isn't exactly vaulted, and it sort of felt like we were presumably the should have been Super Bowl champs walking into Vegas to cash out on some easy practices, and it just did not feel like it went that way.
It felt like the Raiders are a team that have been practicing really hard for like a month, and the Niners are a team that hasn't been. For whatever reason, I mean, they've played a lot of games the last couple of years. They're older, and I think they feel they can probably show up week 1 and still make it to the NFC Championship game, but they might need to like step it up a little bit if they're going to get that number 1 seed.
Totally. Well, Jason Aponte made a really good point. He had brought to the attention that Shanahan teams always kind of start slow. Whether he was offensive coordinator, head coach, not exactly like a badge of honor per se, but perhaps a common denominator. Ryan, what were your thoughts on sort of what you were hearing from Vegas and sort of what you saw as a product on the field on Sunday?
I think the product that we saw on the field on Sunday was the product that we've been seeing in practice, just very stale. The practices are the same every time. It's very repetitive. It's the reason why the 49ers are always starting slow, in my opinion. And why is that acceptable that they start slow every year? I don't think that should be something that is acceptable. That should not be acceptable, right? You want that 1 seed. And to get the 1 seed, you need to start early. And what I saw in practices when I was there is what Grant sees every time he goes. It's the same practice routine every time. There's nothing new. Kyle Shannon's not involved. And I think that is what you're seeing on the field on Sundays. They don't really – I think they just feel like they're so good that it'll all work itself out.
And, the frustrating thing is that sometimes it feels like that's exactly what is going to happen. I mean, I feel like whenever I was losing sleep watching the preseason game, I would just look at the roster that should be starting and measuring it against the NFL top 100 and being like, okay, like we should be okay. But I think the thing that sort of scares me, I'm sure scares anyone who's invested as a fan and intrigues journalists who are invested in their journalism, is what happens if the levee begins to crack, if players become victims of the war of attrition and the team starts to have to embrace whatever depth it has available, even though the display we saw on Sunday wasn't as great. What positions do you feel like we absolutely can't afford to lose during the regular season?
Well,
first, I just want to say you can understand the 49ers' overconfidence this offseason because they won 3 of the last 4 Super Bowls. So it makes sense. I just want to be fair. Like, they're multiple-time champions. They know what they're doing. They know what it takes. So if they want to sleepwalk through the offseason, that's their prerogative. And as far as, like, the depth and stuff, it seems like this is like a very top-heavy team now, like 8 guys who go to Cabo. It's the Cabo crew. And they also get hurt.
It's the boys.
It's the boys, and they're all very rich, and they've all made it. And how many games are they? How many games is Eric Armstead going to play this year? How many games is Christian McCaffrey going to play this year? Debo, Trent Williams, Kittle. Kittle's hurt right now. That's the team.
Totally. Ryan, what are your thoughts?
Well, as far as the positions where we can't get hurt, it's obviously the offensive line. I mean, I don't even think the 5 guys that we have there are good right now necessarily, right? So if one of those guys goes down, particularly Trent Williams, the 49ers season is honestly doomed, in my opinion. I know that sounds crazy, but the most important positions on a football team are your quarterback and your offensive line. And the only really true, stud on that offensive line is Trent Williams. Aaron Banks is great, but Brendel, okay, you know what I'm saying? Burford, we'll see. Colton McKivitz, I don't know. They really have nothing beyond that. I mean, Feliciano's average. So the offensive line scares me, and that's definitely a position where if they lose somebody, it's going to get scary quick.
Totally. I have a question for Grant. Do you miss Mike McGlinchey?
No. I had enough. It was fun, the Mike McGlinchey experience, but I'm actually looking forward to the Colton McKivitz experience. I think it could be even more exciting.
Yeah, but that sounds kind of sinister when you say it like that. Like, I don't think you're actually looking forward to the Colton McKivitz. I think you're just interested in the potential backlash from the Colton McKivitz.
Yeah, but
let me ask you it differently.
The Mike McGlinchey experience. I mean, that was rough.
Well, do you think the 49ers are going to miss them? I mean, you know, you can say what you will, but his absence is now becoming clearer. Would you say?
Yeah, I mean, they found a way to downgrade for Mike McGlinchey, which is remarkable.
Impressive.
It's impressive. It's like, I'm not even mad. Like, I'm just impressed. That was hard to do. At least he's cheaper. And you know what? He has a similar name. McGlinchey, McKivitz. It's like they can sort of pretend that he's Mike McGlinchey.
All the mix, dude. We just cycle it out. It's just like John Lynch just goes through the board and just tries to find the MCs. And he's like, all right, there's potential here. Do they play offensive guard? Do they play line? Let me clear some comments real quick, just because it's an important moment. You guys are here for my first comments. We have some fire emojis. Shout out, Caesar. Appreciate that. Kyle Shanahan actually made an appearance. Let's take a look.
What's up, Coach?
He says, Grant Cohn trending W. Oh, we got one more. Hey, we got one more.
Couldn't do without you, Coach.
My boy Kyle. He says,
up?
I'm happy after a couple years of trying to get you to start a podcast. You finally kind of have. So proud of you. Kind of is like the operative word there, because we're just here to have a good time. Let's be honest. All right.
Yeah, he says with the best production value of anyone on this thing already. Nicely done.
Well, you know, that just happens to be my background, so I had a little bit of a head start. Well, call me, bro. I'm an open book, man. I love to share knowledge. All right, let's talk about the depth. We got some depth perception issues. Things were not looking great. I think if you were to point to one position, it would be what, Ryan?
Well, I think I already talked about it. Be right tackle. That would be the main depth concern for me. Outside of that, let's do a big one. Quarterback. Who's the quarterback? Is he good? Does he have usage of both arms? Is he the real deal, or is he not the real deal?
We'll get to that. That's a good point, though. Yeah. Grant, what do you think?
The D-line was disconcerting. The defense in general. I'm a little concerned, not just like the depth on the D-line, but just Steve Wilkes. Like, he's a lot different than Robert Saleh and D'Amico Ryans. Those guys were like very much high-energy guys who had like defenses that kind of kept it simple and played high effort. Wilkes is going to be doing a lot of stuff, blitzing. He had his like defensive lines like, stunting on run plays and just like running out of gaps. It was like, Steve, what are you doing? I'm a little concerned about this defense in particular. Like Kinlaw, Givens, like all those D linemen, like none of them looked like they were doing anything. They were just getting blown off the ball, all of them. So other than that, they were great.
So let me ask you, because obviously you have tremendous value in the fact that your boots on the ground. You're there for the practices we can and cannot be at. Talk to me about the difference in sort of and you were alluding to it, but like the energy that you've seen over the sort of trajectory of defensive coordinators that we've had thus far under the Kyle Shanahan cinematic universe.
Well, I mean, like Kyle Shanahan is like a very dour person. Like whenever the camera cuts to him in a game, it's just like he's like hiding. You know what I mean? He's like,
it's kind of one of my favorite things. He looked like he's so mad all the time.
Yeah, and he's like kind of like not. He's kind of hiding. Whereas like Robert Saleh was like literally being restrained from running on the field, like you know, veins bulging, and
it was
he became
contagious.
a character. He became a character, and I think that was part of him becoming a head coach. D'Amico Ryans was similar, had a similar energy, maybe I don't know, a little bit different, but quite similar. And now you got Steve Wilkes, who is much more of like a contemplative, might be in the booth. It's going to be a lot different. He's going to have whole different principles. He's going to want to blitz. The reason that Saleh and D'Amico didn't blitz is because these corners are like, so. I mean, the Niners safeties all run like 4.7s, all of them. That's okay. But you might not want to blitz too much. I'm just saying.
Grant, aren't you faster than that yourself? What was your 40 time?
Currently, 4.5.
Yeah.
I want to see it so
I haven't
bad.
ran that one in 16 years, but I still think I could pull it off.
I swear to God, no, like hold me to this. One of these days I want to clock you. I want to film it. I want to make it like a production. I was super serious. Well,
I recently lost like 15 pounds and I'm as light as I've been since high school. So I think let's do it. I think now is the time.
Mazel tov,
let's
bro.
do it. Yeah. Mazel tov.
Yeah. Well, yeah, no, I mean, again, I think, you know, it's preseason and obviously Kyle Shanahan stressed that when it came to where he was putting the most of the weighted grade, it was supposed to be the joint practices. But I don't know. From the reports I read from joint practices, it wasn't like it felt like it kind of looked on Sunday how it felt during joint practices. Is that an accurate assessment?
It was a total carryover, and I think that was what was so surprising. But also, like as you said, Kyle was supposed to be weighting the practices more. The media didn't, right? Because Brock's the one that threw 4 picks in 2 practices, and everyone was like, "Well,
Just
you
practice.
know,
Right.
it's whatever. Diz what?" And then Trey does what he does, and people just pound. I mean, everyone on the beat pounces.
Yeah,
And,
we'll get to
and
that.
then Kyle's the one who's like, actually, I thought Trey Lance was quite impressive in
called
ways.
that. You called that today, Grant. You called it on our show before the press conference. You said that you had a feeling that Kyle was going to come out and be pro Trey, and sure enough, 2:00.
He got everyone to like really crap on him, and then he can be the good guy. It's like the most clever thing I've seen him do with quarterbacks ever, maybe. Let's see if he can keep it going. He's got a hot streak on of one good thing he's done. Just keep it going, Kyle. I loved it.
We got someone who's saying that your simulcast is not on right now. I don't know if that's. I saw your name. Figured I'd bring that up to your attention. Not sure.
Oh, was I supposed to simulcast this?
I don't know. I just saw the comment. I was a worried parent. I wanted to make sure you were okay.
Nah, man, this is 100% on Sour Death Sam's.
I appreciate it. I
channel.
appreciate it.
It's all about Sour Death.
Exclusive. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I'll give you guys one.
sir.
All right, let's move on to the next topic, which is about my boy who let me down a little bit. Bad Moody.
Oh, no.
Wasn't looking good, my friend. Look, here's the thing. There's one thing I love on this planet. It's fucking kickers. Fucking love kickers. They're so underrated. Jason Aponte, eat dirt. We will never agree on this. That's okay. I love you like a homie. But this kind of let me down because I had high hopes. 3rd round pick. We thought he was an ice cold killer. He was doing well in practices, allegedly. Do you think this was the case of the Yips?
Big time.
Here's the thing, man. It's really early. I want to say no. You know, it's really early. He's a young kid, right? We'll see how it works
They
out.
iced him. They iced him, right?
They did ice the kicker in the preseason twice. Yeah, that's not nice.
I feel like the word is out. Like, hey, man, he might be yippified. I think he was yippified.
I want to give these guys the benefit of the doubt, these
I do
young
too.
guys, and
I'll
give
give
them
anyone
some
the benefit
time.
of the doubt. Fuck.
Just
We
no.
know, Grant.
I give Robbie Gold the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
Robbie, where you at?
It makes you miss him a little bit. Go ahead, Ryan. Sorry.
Robbie's at the house right now, though. So, like, you know,
Laughing his ass off.
if Moody doesn't work out, they can call Robbie. He'll be back. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but it's going to cost him.
We
His
also have
price just went
Gonzo.
up.
We also have Gonzo mode in the wings, so don't sleep on the Gons.
Gonzo.
Yeah.
Oh, Gonzalez.
Said
Okay.
Yeah.
no one
Okay.
ever.
I got you.
The Gonzo.
But yeah, no, I hear you. Like one thing I you know, as important as it is to address the elephants in the room, I think you have someone who is just getting out of college in a super high pressure situation. My hope is that he takes these next preseason games and he uses them as an exclamation point. He's clearly a capable kicker. Kicking
Practice.
involves a lot of being up here because you only have one play in the playbook. It's to kick the fucking ball. Obviously, there's nuance to where you're angling the direction of your kick, perhaps the power behind the kick. But at the end of the day, there is one play in a kicker's playbook. And when things go wrong that bad, it's clearly something that's mental. I do wish him nothing but the strength and support of his teammates to sort of pull it together. But I will also kick the ball to Grant to see what he has to say about the subject. It's probably not as sweet and tender as what I just had to say.
No, I mean, I'm not going to shit on Jake Moody. All I'm just saying is he's under an unreal amount of stress. He might be a really, really talented kicker. But as you just pointed out, like that's not really the question right now. The question is whether he's ready to be freaking lights out for a team that's supposed to win the Super Bowl.
That's
Robbie
important.
Gould was. And it doesn't look like this guy is. And it's almost like maybe too much to ask at 23. I mean, like the Niners are, clutching their pearls about Trey Lance, right? Like he's just, it's not him, it's us. We just can't afford to put someone like that on the field. And meanwhile, you got Jake Moody over here like shaking in his boots, being like, "Oh my God, this team really needs me to come through." Like, yeah, man, they do.
Yeah, no,
Sorry.
and I think you handled that exceptionally well, because that's the truth. You hit on a really important point, which is like, as much as I want to hand my heart to this kid, if it's the fucking NFC Championship game and you miss the fucking kick, I will rip you apart. And so that's what it comes down to. Is like right now I'm like trying to like, oh, it's okay, like, you know, like, but at the end of the day, like, there is a responsibility, and I do believe there is time. Like, I do sincerely believe that this is something, this could be the right bump in the road at the perfect time for perhaps a future amazing kicker. Because if he gets over this and squashes it, he already got it out of his system. You know, the virus ran its course through its veins, like the Vegas virus is going through yours, and you're over it. Your body knows how to deal with it. So that's the hope, right? If you're a fan.
It's also not his fault that the Niners wanted to go cheap at kicker, cheap at quarterback, cheap at offensive line. Like, you can't really blame Colton McKivitz for being the cheap option, or Brock Purdy, or, you know.
Yeah, but it's gonna sting.
Jake Moody.
It's gonna sting real bad if, and I'm not wishing this upon the kid, I'm just speaking what some people might be thinking. If they spent a 3rd-round pick on a kicker and then bring on the kicker they didn't really want to pay last year, or pay in the offseason, back for the price that he was probably asking for in the first place.
That'd be great. That'd
point
be
of concern. Yeah, point of concern, but at the end of the day, you know, if it ends up working out, then so be it. I got to showcase this comment. Makes me feel good. Thank you, Sabrizi. The only well, I encourage you to watch Ryan and Grant as well, but you know I love you. You know I love you.
I don't.
Sourdough Sam checking in. Love my dude. Appreciate it. Clean industry. And we'll do one more before you hop back in. Just a nice yo. Appreciate that, CG. All right. Now for my favorite headline. Lot to worry about. Let's be real, dude. Again, I'm going to do a whole section at the end of my show that sort of cleans up any of the negative talk we got here. I'm
You're
trying
cutting me out of the show afterward. Thanks.
Hey, Grant, by the way, if you want to join me at the end, I'm doing affirmations. I'm not even joking. And I don't know if you remember this.
Man,
this
I'm
is
sick and I'm tired. I gotta go.
No, it's cool. I'm
sorry.
just,
Next time. It sounds like
cool.
fun though. It does. I would love to.
Oh, no, one of these days I'm gonna get you on to do that, because the world needs to hear you say nice things. But let's talk about Cameron Latu, because this might go in a little bit of a different direction. It feels like since the beginning of the camp that we've had, that there hasn't been any like gold star days for Cameron Latu. Grant, can you tell me what you've seen boots on the ground?
You could say about Cameron Latu.
Hey man, you know
what you just said. That was it.
I'm trying to be a source of positivity as much as I can. But Grant, I'm gonna let you dip in here. I want you to lay it in on what your thoughts are on Cameron.
All right, without being too mean, like, first thing I saw from Cameron, he wasn't getting any targets in 11-on-11s, and I figured that's not a reason to write someone off. Let me watch one-on-ones. So I watched him in one-on-ones. He goes one-on-one with Jair Brown and just destroys him. Is wide open. And I'm thinking, okay, the guy can run a route. He drops the ball. And I'm thinking, like, okay, people drop balls, fine. But that's been like him in every practice. He just doesn't hang on to the ball. And if by some miracle he catches it, you saw what happened in the preseason game. He's going to fumble it, or he has. So I don't know why that's happening. He hasn't played the position that long. He did it at a high level at Alabama, but this is the NFL, and it looks like he's not a functional tight end right now. Maybe he's a good blocker.
I thought that was fair, very measured, very fair. Ryan, I mean, you saw the preseason game. By the way, did you make it to any of the training camps open dates? Okay, so based on what you may have seen while you were there, what you saw in the game, you know, where are we at with Cameron?
I saw a guy that was much more explosive than I anticipated. A guy that was getting open regularly, that just could not catch the ball. And it's unfortunate. It's kind of like Moody right now. Like, I feel like because I saw what happened with Trey Lance and how the media, you know, not this guy, but a lot of people just jumped down his throat, ripped him. I'm kind of feel like I need to defend Moody. I need to defend Latu and give them some time because they are young dudes. I saw a lot of good things from Latu, like from a blocking standpoint, from an explosiveness standpoint, but he could just not catch the ball. And like Grant said, he hasn't played the position very long. I think he played like a year and a half in college.
Mm-hmm.
He came in as a defensive player. And so it's new to him. You know, this guy, it has to be a big jump. You know, I know it's Alabama, it's a big school, but still, you're in the NFL, you're on the 49ers, you're playing behind George Kittle. I'm hoping that these are just mental hiccups for Moody and Latu, and then they can get their shit together because, you know, obviously they both have, you know, the potential to be good.
And the thing
Totally.
with Latu, like, I think they just drafted him to be a blocking tight end, like a number 2 guy who doesn't get targeted because they have all these other guys. But Kittle's hurt now. What happens if Kittle misses games? Who's the starting tight end? Not Latu.
Right.
And he was a 3rd-round pick.
Were you so? Ryan alluded to something interesting. Ryan's insinuating that there were moments of him as a route runner popping open, and Grant, you said that sort of in the beginning. Do you think that if he can just sort of soften his hands, sort of get sticky,
See,
you
I
think
don't
it's a
never,
different outcome?
To me, it's never a hand issue. It's an eye tracking issue. Like I'm sure his hands are big and soft, and he can always put moisturize them on. It's not the issue. Like the issue is like tracking it into.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, go ahead.
The issue is tracking it into your hands. He should get his eyes checked. I mean, it's not like 2010, like a 2020 thing. Like, you ever see those tests that like measure how you track thing? He should probably do that. He should probably do that.
So let me ask you this. So let's act like you've got, like, we're playing Madden. We got Cameron Latu. You've got a bunch of points to distribute in that category.
Hand-eye coordination.
Do you pretty important for the position that involves catching. But
yeah,
would you say that if he can just sort of shore up this element of his game, that he is a formidable tight end force, if he can shore that up, or do you still feel like there are other aspects of his game that are going to lead him trailing in the depth chart?
He strikes me as a 5th-round pick that Kyle Shanahan took at the end of round 3 to be a blocking tight end because he felt that all he needed to win the Super Bowl was a kicker and a blocking tight end, and that was it. And he was like, good, got it. Because Kyle, you know,
he's a tight end too.
He's not confident.
He's a tight end too. He's not George Kittle's replacement. No.
Yeah.
He runs like a 4.8. No.
I mean, truthfully, George Kittle's such an
I
anomaly.
run faster than that.
He's a tight end too if he learns how to catch. He's
Yeah.
not right now, but if he learns how to catch, he could be a tight end too.
That's great.
Okay, fair point. Okay, now the conversation we've all been waiting for. Lance or Donald, we have gotten to the point where we have seen phase 1 of what this could look like in the preseason. First, I'm going to open with your guys' opinions because I obviously, Grant, you're trending for them today. But Ryan, we'll start with you. What did you see on the field between these two quarterbacks? What do you think people are right on about? What do you think there might be misunderstandings about?
I think we know who Sam Darnold is. It's 55. We're 55 games in on Sam Darnold. The book has been written. We know who he is. He has a good arm talent. He lacks mentally, that he makes mistakes. He sees ghosts, according to him. He did at one point. We saw that in the game, right? He made a really good throw. He missed on one, but then he saw a ghost and could have threw an interception. That's Sam Darnold, right? That's what he is. With Trey Lance, what I see is a kid that lacks confidence, is nervous, that needs to work on his timing. All things that he can develop by playing football. And
Totally.
The question is whether he's going to get that opportunity or not.
Yeah, I mean, the way if I were to sort of identify myself on the Trey fandom chart, like, I really like him a lot. And it's one of those situations where even if he doesn't work out with the 49ers, I'm going to be rooting for him long term.
Yeah.
Because it's one of the most precarious situations I've ever seen in, like, a quarterback debacle. Because typically what happens is when a team trades that many assets to get a player like Trey Lance the way they did, they either ride into the sunset with some sort of glory, or they crash and burn and they get some serious overhaul in the front office. What's unusual about this situation is that they just also so happened to have drafted Brock Purdy, who, if he plays the season that he played last year, this year, may go down as one of the biggest draft bargains in NFL history. And so you don't have that same sort of like, we have to go into the fire together because if we don't succeed, we're all screwed together. It's kind of a weird scenario where they could afford to sort of move Trey, keep Brock, and everyone in the front office and in the coaching staff could keep their job. And so really what it seems like
if
here,
Brock works out.
If Brock works out, hey, that's a great point.
He stays healthy. That's
If he stays up, exactly. But even, hey, look, I mean, you know, Greg Papa today said that, hey, maybe Darnold is actually the one pushing for QB1. We won't go there yet. But yeah, it's the thing about Trey is that we all know the formula here. It's that this is a kid with tremendous promise, with a great character, right? There's nothing really anyone bad has to say. It actually kind of makes, I feel like that's why it makes some of us upset when the media is so quick to dismiss him, because it's like, he's not out here blowing practice, not watching tape, not doing the things he's supposed to do. He just needs reps, and it's frustrating. But you know, Grant, sort of give me your perspective here. Obviously, it's been online a little bit, but let's hear it on the mic.
Well, I feel like we can all agree that the number one issue we saw with Trey Lance in this game was timing. I thought he was accurate. I mean, he threw some passes that could have gotten intercepted. One was late. Maybe decision-making was an issue too, but like he was essentially accurate. I mean, more accurate than we've seen in the past, and he took his new throwing mechanics that he's been working on, and you could see it. Like, he carried him over to this game. And, like, the lack of timing, I think, is understandable. We gave Brock Purdy a bunch of excuses when he went 2 for 9 in his first practice back from a elbow surgery. Everyone's like, man, it was a good practice for Brock because he was throwing a football when he went 2 for 9 with an interception. So Trey Lance went 10 for 15 with a touchdown that should have been an interception but wasn't. People are like, man, this dude is trash. It's like his first game in 11 months. And you could tell in his first 3 drives. After that, I thought he looked a lot better and did things we hadn't seen him do. Like when he rolled out of the pocket to the right and like jumped and hit Snead on the, like he wouldn't have done that last year.
Totally.
So I think he looks a lot better. And like, I just feel that the Niners haven't really ever, they've only put him in a position to be successful once, that Houston game. The Niners are not a quarterback-centric offense. They're a running-back-centric offense. And when their run game is cooking and their running back is cooking, like any quarterback can probably put up numbers. Maybe not win a Super Bowl, but win games and put up numbers. Like we've seen that with Jimmy, you know, Purdy, Beth, like a lot of guys. The one time Trey Lance had an effective run game and a healthy running back was Elijah Mitchell in that Houston game, and they won. Every other time there's been no running back, and he's been the guy. And this last game, like, they didn't run the ball at all. And people are like, oh, tough shit. Like, okay, well, if you want him to succeed, just call games like you did for Jimmy Garoppolo and everyone else, which is handing the ball off. Really, the Niners quarterback is a designated hander-offer most of the time.
Well, you know, I wouldn't go as far as to say that, but
with the little screen mixed in.
Well, here's the one thing you touched on that I thought was interesting, which let's talk about the touchdown throw, because at first it looked super egregious. It was like you missed the guy who's about to pick the ball and you got so lucky. And what's interesting is that as you sort of take more time to look at it, it kind of becomes a conversation about bad throws versus risky throws. And the more I looked at it, the more it looked like a risky throw, which means that he understood the risk. He saw the defender and had enough confidence in himself to say, I think I could sneak this in. Trey Lance in his post-game interview alluded to this effectively in saying that, no, I saw the defender and he made a really good play. I'll pull the clip up right now.
Touchdown was unorthodox.
For sure.
Yeah. Was that like a no, yes situation?
It was a yes, no, yes more situation. Yeah. Dwelly ended up making a great play. The defense made a great play. I didn't think he'd be able to get to it. But yeah, guys made plays and it ended up working out.
defender, he probably couldn't have thrown it inside. Sorry, I was just
They were both.
Yeah,
They
like
basically
wing
were
around.
both cutting
Yeah.
back in, and so
Well, I'm
if
talking about the guy right in front of him, hands up. He had to. If you go back to that picture, take a look
Yep.
at it.
Kyle was saying, I'm not mad he threw it. Even Kyle was like, it could have been a little bit farther out, which is kind of, but at the end of the day, I sort of chalk it up as this is a risky throws are the throws where when they don't work out, you look like a bad quarterback. And when they do work out, you look like a legend.
Yeah.
And when you stack enough of those risky throws together, two things happen. Your confidence and your legacy builds. And that's sort of like the base of what makes that next level quarterback is the folks who are willing to take those risks. When you sort of, I don't know if you've had a chance to look at the all 22s. I don't know if you've had a chance to sort of redigest the game, but sort of like, what was your thought when you had a chance to sort of look at all the tape over again and reassess Trey with kind of more saturated eyes?
Who do you want to go? Me?
Oh, Ryan, go ahead.
Okay, so I rewatched it this morning, and there were what looked like two inaccurate plays to me, 2 or 3 plays that were very indecisive, and the 2 plays that were bad decisions. And he had 27 snaps, right? So overall, I thought he actually had a pretty good day when you consider all that. I voted him like a C minus yesterday. I'd probably go to C today after watching it back. There's some good, some bad, but everything that looked bad to me was just the guy needs to play more. Like,
Yep.
It's just timing things. It's just inexperience, lack of confidence. He just needs to play. There was nothing that made me think, oh, this guy's done. Yeah, he's a bust. Like, I never saw that in Trey Lance. When I watch him, it just confirms to me he needs to play.
Yep. Grant?
That throw, his touchdown throw, Kyle kept talking about it. I think what Kyle was essentially saying is that in the past he wouldn't have gotten there. He's saying like that was the last read in the progression. And from Kyle's perspective, like that's a step in the right direction for Lance. I think in the past he probably would have looked at the first guy, maybe gotten to the second guy, maybe ran. And now it's like you got to the last guy and you're a little late or whatever, but that's improvement. And that's a good sign. Like maybe the next time it'll be complete. And so I think Kyle saw it as a step in the right direction for Lance. And that's why I think he was surprisingly encouraging of Lance for the first time in a long time.
Totally.
That's what I thought.
Avid tape watcher in front of the show, Rich Madrid, also notes, I also think Conley was too deep. Typically on the crossover from that side, they're not deeper than 14 yards, right where the defenders was mid-letters. Anything he says, I'm just going to agree by default.
Nah, you always have to assume that Rich is full of shit. But I think he was right on that one.
I don't know, man. I don't want him to yell at me, man. Anything he says, I just agree, dude. That's just how you got to do it.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes,
Before we move on
sir.
to the very, very, very last topic, because Grant, I know you're probably just sweating Vegas casino germs right now.
Dude.
I do want
Nastiest
to.
place on earth. It's a good time.
Yeah, it's actually like on the sign outside of Vegas. So let's pin it down right now. Do you think Kyle was sabotaging the play calling to make Trey Lance look bad?
Yes. But I don't, but maybe for good reasons. Let me try to spin this, okay? Maybe for good reasons. If Kyle wants to make a quarterback look good, he calls plays like he did for Darnold in the third quarter. There's a balance of runs and passes. That's how he does. I mean, he did it, or he just calls runs. He just calls hands off. He did this for Jimmy forever. He did it for Darnold. He does it for Purdy. That's how he calls plays. To call 20 dropbacks and 7 handoffs when he's already gotten sacked 3 times, like it seemed like you're throwing him to the wolves. Why? Well, I have a theory that potentially people in the front office, like John Lynch, are dying to trade Trey Lance and are waiting for Kyle to give the green light. And Kyle doesn't want to. He doesn't want to pump up his trade value. He wants to keep him. And so he goes out there and gives him a bunch of passes, said this is tough love, and he's going to learn more from this, and I'm not going to pump up his trade value. And then when everyone's down on him, I'm going to come out and say, actually, I thought he did good. And then if John Lynch says, can I trade him now? I'm going to be like, why? He did a good job in this game, and just be that guy. So I could see Kyle trying to be like, man, there's no trade market for this guy. No, he's not my starting quarterback, but he could be my quarterback week 10. Like, get off me. I need this guy at some point.
So it's effectively a middle finger to John Lynch to hedge his quarterback room.
Yes, I think that's what's happening.
All right. Well, I got good news for you, Grant. I spent 15 Bitcoin to create a Kyle Shanahan robot. I'd like to introduce Kyle 5000. Kyle, Grant thinks that you were intentionally sabotaging the play calling to make Trey Lance look bad. What do you think about that? Sorry, I spent a lot of Bitcoin on this. This better work. Hey, Kyle Grant says that you were trying to sabotage the play calling to make Trey Lance look bad. What do you think about that?
Grant again. That's just absurd. Why the hell would I sabotage my own team? Grant's always looking for drama where there isn't any. Maybe he should spend some of that Bitcoin on a clue. The audacity of that guy to question my intentions.
Wow. Spicy. Damn. That is intense, dude. Grant, what do you have to say? Kyle has some choice words for you.
That seemed like exactly as defensive as Kyle Shanahan would get in real life. I think that was a really good artificial
I
intelligence.
spent most of the Bitcoin hiring Rich Madrid to pull all the tape of Kyle speaking so I could really get the language model right.
I think it's funny, like, Kyle, maybe AI Kyle can tell us, but maybe he called all those passes to try to pump up Trey Lance's trade value, and it didn't work. And he was like, oh, darn, I thought that was going to be good. Let me go back to calling runs for Sam Darnold.
Well, real quick, like right before we hop off, because we touched heavily on Lance, very little on Darnold. Just quick thoughts. What did you think about Darnold? I thought he looked pretty good.
Yeah, I thought he looked pretty good, too. Okay, what do you think, Ryan? I thought he looked pretty good. That's
I think
basically
he looked
how I
like
feel
Sam
about
Darnold. Yeah, he looked like Sam Darnold, man. Yeah.
He looked like Sam Darnold put in advantageous positions, and then when you got him to third down, and he was like throwing to people who weren't there. He did throw that one pass to a ghost, which I thought was cool.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Vintage Sam Darnold, baby. All right, one last topic before you go. What do you think about who's on the bubble? What are the key? We have 2 preseason games left. Who are the bubble boys? Who do we got that we need to look out for who may or may not make the team?
Cameron Latu.
Here's an interesting one. Womack or Deshaun Jameson?
Jameson. Jameson can return punts. Womack gives up long plays and touchdowns.
I'm going to say both. I like both those guys.
I like Ambry all of a sudden.
Ambry
Womack
too.
just keeps getting
Everybody.
burned, and Ambry made a play. I think Ambry might be making an end around on Womack. Those two, I think, are battling it out.
You know what's disappointing is Isaiah Oliver. I was really surprised by that. I thought he was our starting nickel.
Yeah.
He might get cut.
That was not a promising post game. It was not promising hearing about his very, very loose, I would even call an endorsement, statements about his position. It really seems like they're trying to fill that role, and he may not be the person to do it.
I think I inspired that question in the press conference today. I just want to get that out there. Okay, I tweeted about it, and then it was asked in the press conference. I didn't get any appreciation for it, but
I got some for you here.
There you go. Thank you.
That's for you, Ryan.
Appreciate it.
I did that for you, buddy.
Can I tell you guys a story from my trip in Vegas? It's a
Yeah,
short one.
dude, for sure.
So I called the front desk, and I was like, hey, can I get some water? I'm thirsty. Because it's Vegas. You know how it is. And they were like, sure. And then I got a call back like 5 minutes later saying, the robot is at your door with
hell
the
yeah.
water. And then I went to the front door, and there was a robot there. And I opened the door, and I pressed open, and there were 3 bottles of water in the robot that looked like R2-D2, and then it freaking left. How about that?
Bro, we are so cooked. We are so cooked. That's why
It's
dude,
over. It's
Robo,
over.
Kyle 5000 is going to be taking his job, dude. John Lynch is going to be, oh yeah, bitch? You don't like the way I fucking draft? Guess what? program this
5,000.
motherfucking
Yeah.
angry ass robot to do what
Yeah.
you do for less money.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
eat shit. That's what
Yeah.
he's gonna say.
Just like how they replaced Jimmy Garoppolo with Brock Purdy.
Dude, yeah, dude. Honestly, like, I would maybe pay to see a robot football game. Like, the hits would be so. No, it would be like battle bots, but like.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, dude, come
I
on now.
love that show.
Me too. I keep
But the
wanting
one
to.
that would like spin around would always win. I feel like people figured it out. If you had like a spinning thing with knives on it, you couldn't really attack that.
Oh, that's
Battle
easy
Bots. Good
money,
show.
dude. Yeah, dude.
Easy money.
The robots with the saws and shit, like.
You have
come
to be
on,
at least
dude.
35 years old to know what that show is, though.
Yeah, dude. It was right. It was like
Yeah.
it was when Joe Rogan had a hair.
I love that show. It's a really good
Was
show.
it like late 90s Comedy Central? Yes.
Yeah, early 2000s. It was like
Early
2001,
2000s.
2002. Yeah,
Yeah, good times.
and
Good
the glory days, dude. When like
The glory
internet
days.
wasn't fast enough to be distracted all day by it.
Yes.
Man,
point.
good stuff.
Good
All right,
stuff.
guys. Well, hey, look. I've taken enough of your time, Grant. I'm gonna let you get some rest. Ryan, I appreciate your time so much. He does not usually do late nights. He did today. Grant is sick. He came anyways. I appreciate you guys very much. You know I do. I really do. And, you know, I hope people stop picking on you. Oh, Ryan, I do have one question for you specifically. I have a Twitter user named Hebrew Hammer who says you have him blocked. I'm just wondering if you could maybe review the tape and see if there's anything he did specific. He's been cool on my timeline. You don't have to unblock him, but I did promise him I would bring it up in the spirit of Hebrew Hammer. Yeah. So
All
check
right.
him out. Yeah. If he did something dirty to you, DM me the results, and you know if I gotta block him, I will. But he's a cool guy. I don't. You know, you never know on Twitter because sometimes
here's
you're like,
what-
oh, this guy
here's
seems
what-
chill, and then you're like, oh, you're a fucking axe murderer.
Here's
No,
what
thank
most
you.
likely happened, Sam, is that during the Eagles game, after the Eagles game, I said Kyle Shanahan will not be coddled this offseason, and I think a million people just attacked
Blasted
me. That's
you.
what I blocked like 200 people that day. So
That's cool.
probably what
Hey,
happened.
well, if I could do one thing, if you look at the tape and say, hey, you know what, maybe he deserves another chance, that's great. It's another person who could subscribe to your channel,
you go.
maybe get a mortgage. But if not, then you know I'm not gonna sweat it either. He'll just be on my timeline, listening to me shit post. But guys, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it, and yeah, I hope you guys have a great night. And yeah, look forward to seeing your content this coming week.
Salute victory.
Thanks,
Yes,
buddy.
salute victory. Guys, thank you. All right. Well, that's it. One thing I do want to do at this stage is I want to get into affirmations, and I think it's time to do that right now. Let's clear the deck here, right? These guys are gone. I'm learning this technology just like you guys. You know, we're just winging it. Okay. It's important to breathe because this is scrimmage without backups. Jake Moody. It's not about how you fall, it's how you get back up. Cameron Latu, I know we were a little tough on you. You work harder at your position than most people do in their lifetime, and we see that. I wish you nothing but the best, and I hope you clear up your hand-eye coordination issues. Trey Lance. You made it out alive on the stat sheet. Let's stack those days. And let's put some good tape together so that everyone can stop shitting on you. Well, I made it. That's a 49-minute episode. I hope anyone watched. It seems like there's some comments. Let's open up some of these before I leave. I appreciate you guys. I got some people enjoying the show, man. Studio looking dope. I got some smiley faces. This is cool. If anyone's got some comments, now's the time because I'm about to sign off. I'll answer questions and shit. I got LOLs and stuff. Kyle 5000. Yeah, I'll bring him back on. Hold on one second. All right. Kyle 5000, everybody. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Kyle 5000, the people seem to really like you a lot. Can you give the fans some appreciation?
Well, I'm not one for sentimentality, but I do appreciate the fans.
Yep.
Without them, there's no game.
For sure.
No team, no nothing. So, thanks to all the fans out there for the support, even if I'm a digital grump. Just keep Grant's nonsense out of it, and we're good.
All right. Kyle 5000, everyone. Wow. Good times, man. We got some... Any more comments before I sign off? By the way, your guys' audio wasn't coming through the Trade TD. Yeah, I know. We're all learning, baby. We're learning. We're just kind of grinding through this mess. But I really do appreciate it, because if it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't know. So, no, this technology is insane. What the fuck? Yeah, it better be. I paid fucking 30 Bitcoins for it.
Yes, sir.
Ah, man. All right. Well, I'm going to sign off. I appreciate you guys very much. For real, this was a lot of fun. I should probably go to the gym. I didn't do that at all today. And I've been on a good streak. It's been 3 weeks. I'm feeling pretty solid. And folks, if you guys want to hop on anytime, it's not called public access for no reason. I am working on ways to make this more publicly involved, including being able to start spaces on Twitter and having it be part of the show. So if anyone copies that idea, know that it came here first. And I'm just happy to be a part of you guys. When is the next show? Man, I'm gonna be so fucking real, guys.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Flying by the seat of my pants. I think part of it has to do with the guests that I can bring on, because I don't really want to just sit here and ramble by myself. I was pretty much auditioning this format, but this is kind of a lot of fun. I've appreciated hanging out with you guys a lot. And yeah, I think that's it, guys. I'm going to wrap it up, but I appreciate it. Thank you so much. I've been putting some buffalo chicken, shredded chicken in the slow cooker all day. I've been trying to eat that shit, and so that's what I'm going to do. So God bless you guys. I appreciate it, and have a